First, let's focus on the actual end of the game, because we saw this movie week one. We saw it. And it's one of the quirks of the further refined kickoff rule with the options you have. And we saw in week one the Bears desperately needing to use the 2-minute warning to their advantage as a surrogate timeout in order to get the ball back when they were down 3 points against the Vikings with enough time to get in field goal range to force overtime. And the Bears blew it. They didn't kick out of the back of the end zone, which would have given Minnesota the ball at 35 with 2:04 on the clock. They didn't deliberately kick the ball out of bounds, which would have given the Vikings the ball with 2:04 on the clock with that de facto timeout at the 2-minute warning. And they didn't kick short of the landing zone, which would have done the same thing. Get it to 40. What's the difference between 35 and 40? Nothing. The key is you need to be on the right side of the 2-minute warning if you're the team that's trying to get the ball back, because you are down timeouts. That operates as a timeout. You do the math. It gets you the ball in a time when you have a chance. So we saw it. We've lived it. And I'll give the broadcast crew some credit. They kind of were saying what needs to be done here. They didn't set it up as well as it could have been, kind of like I am right now. I'm not setting it up as well as I could be. But Kaimi Fairbairn kicks off. Don't laugh at that. Kaimi Fairbairn kicks off, and what do? It's the same damn thing, and it wasn't even that deep into the end zone. Kicks it off maybe 2 yards deep. There goes the Seahawks kick returner. There goes your seconds, and there went your 2-minute warning, and that's it. And look, we know, and this is the problem. It's glaring, and it makes you wonder. Let's start there. It makes you wonder how much teams are really studying these end of half and end of game scenarios, which I think are critical, Devin. I was talking about this on Sunday. Games aren't over when they used to be over. They're not over anymore. And you better have a plan for your kickoff. And you better have a plan for how much time you're going to leave on the clock. And you better be ready, because it doesn't take many ticks to get a touchdown or specifically a long field goal. Now you got the K-balls and you got the kickers with the Terminator legs, and you've got these kickoff rules that put you in position where you don't need to gain very much. Now, that wasn't the issue last night because the Texans needed 8. But, I mean, are coaches paying attention to these scenarios and studying them the way they should be?
And I think one of the things that always sticks out to me is you need somebody who's going and focusing and watching the rest of the league. Like, yes, you want to do your own study, you want to do all of that, but sometimes the answers to the test, they already happen. And, I think during the broadcast, they talked about kicking the ball out of the end zone and doing all those different things. But I think now teams need to realize every kicker is trained to kick this ball in this landing zone now. Like, it's very rare that we see guys just kick the ball out of the end zone. So I think what ends up happening over time is it's a little bit of a struggle sometimes for these kickers to just line up and hopefully get it out of the end zone. And I think, like, when you watch that, as you're talking about the Minnesota-Chicago game and the ball, they try to kick it out of the end zone. Chandler moves back, catches the ball about 8 or 9 yards deep, which then started the whole conversation about it's only a 5-yard difference. Just kick the ball out of bounds. We can do that. Just angle. Just airmail, just kick it out of bounds as bad as you want, whatever it looks like. And I think that's the thing that the good teams do a good job of. It's not just us doing our own research. It's actually being locked in on what's happening throughout the league. What are the conversations? Listen, I get it. I was a player once, and we used to always talk about the media this and media starts that. And these guys are saying there's plenty of people out here who are studying that are saying some good things. And I think that's what you don't want to miss. And I still think, obviously, it would have been an uphill battle for Houston. But exactly what you said, the game is not over. We've watched, whether even, years ago, but especially recently, teams not finishing, teams having one critical mistake, the one ball bouncing your way, and you're right back in the game. So for them to, and I don't know, the ball was pretty close to the sideline, so I don't know. They kept cutting to D'Amico Ryans and was showing that he wasn't happy with, what happened. So I don't know what maybe their game plan was on that last kickoff. It didn't look too far off from what they normally did, but maybe what the plan was right there.
Here's what D'Amico Ryan said after the game, Devin. The plan was kicking the ball out of bounds so we could utilize the 2-minute. We did not execute it. Now, I don't know what the convention is for calling out your kicker that way. He was given an assignment and he didn't do it. I think what you do is you get yourself a new kicker. I was talking to somebody about one of the games earlier in the year. It was the Thursday night game between the Cardinals and the Seahawks when the Cardinals kicker did the dirty ball kick and missed the landing zone. And Seahawks got the ball at the 40 and bang, 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 walk-off game-winning field goal. And, I know how some coaches feel about kickers. They're completely interchangeable. If my kicker isn't going to do what my kicker tells him to do, I'm getting me a new kicker. I just pick up the phone and I got a new kicker.
That's too emotional. You can't do that. Think about the San Francisco 49ers. If Moody would have been making field goals, I get it. You're mad. Maybe next year you replace that kicker. But if you replace your kicker because he makes that, and it's a bad mistake, don't get me wrong. But the amount of times when you need that kicker in critical moments to come kick a field goal and make it, you better not make that emotional decision and be wrong just because they erred and they made a mistake. And I get it. Losing games in the NFL is tough, but if that guy can go and win you a game, I don't know if I'm getting rid of a guy because of a kickoff or a punt not going out of bounds. All those things come up. I don't know if I'm getting rid of the guy.
But Devin, and I would need to look at the rule so I would understand exactly what the options are if you're short of the landing zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can, I don't think you can choose possession. I think that's probably a flaw in the rule book. I mean, because my point is this. It's one thing to make a field goal. It's another thing to make sure that we've got our 2-minute warning preserved. You can bang it out of bounds easily. Plenty of people can do that. And I'm using here about the rules with the landing zone because that's a way to concede the 20 or the 40, excuse me. You just have to kick it short of the 20. I wonder if you would just go out without declaring an onside kick and just kick a roller. Do they get it at the 40? Like, why not do that? I'm going to go read the rule. If I remember, I'm going to make a note to myself because, again, it is thrown from a speeding train Tuesday. But I just wonder if that's the easiest way to do it. Like, why even dick around with trying to kick it? If all you got to do is come out and kick basically a rolling onside kick without it being an onside kick situation and the other team gets it at the 40 and not a single second is run off the clock, that's your easiest solution. And even I could do that, I think.
Yeah. And I wonder, is there anything in the rule for like around 2 minutes or under 4 minutes? Because you're right. If the kicker goes to kick and he slips and he doesn't get to hit the ball right, I would imagine that comes up the same of not hitting in the landing zone. And my whole thing as a coach, I would come out that next week and not to embarrass, but to make my point very clear, we would practice kicking the ball out of bounds. We would practice not hitting the landing zone for the whole team to see and put that pressure on the kicker. I just think as much as, some people think kickers are interchangeable, we've watched some teams not have the kicker of choice and be in these situations where the game comes down, you execute everything perfectly, but then the guy just doesn't make the kick that, I would try to be on my kicker to get them to rise to that level and make that play under pressure when we need it more than get rid of them unless I already didn't like our kicker. But again, I've heard Coach Belichick say that, 2 kickers, 2 punters. If I tell you something, a punter, if I tell you we're punting the ball out of bounds and you don't, your days will be numbered here. And I understand that. You have one job when you're a kicker or a punter. You have to get it done. But if you don't have a good one, then I think it's tough sledding for your team.
I don't want you to name names, but weren't you just telling that story a couple of weeks ago that he did that? Didn't he get rid of a guy after a season when he failed to do something he was told to do?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't remember his name. It was before I got there, but I got drafted with Zoltan Mesko, punter from Michigan. He got drafted to punt for the New England Patriots, and randomly, like we don't know anything about it, and we're in meetings one day, and we're going through situational football, and Zoltan successfully punted it out of bounds what Bill wanted, and we're watching the film, and he's like, "And Z, so the last punter didn't punt the ball out of bounds, and he's circling them on the screen, and you know where he is." He's not here. That's why you're here. You don't punt it out when I tell you to punt it out, your ass will be gone. And
See?
that set the tone. But you gotta
Well,
wait.
and Devin, this is the key. And this is where I'm not really concerned about whether it's bad form to call your player out. Players get called out all the time. But it's D'Amico Ryan's responsibility. At the end of the day, whatever your punishment is, whatever the discipline is, whatever the consequence is for Kaimi Fairbairn failed to do what D'Amico Ryans told him to do, and D'Amico Ryans is the one who's ultimately responsible for what happened. So regardless of how we got here, you put the ball in play, and you blew your opportunity to use the 2-minute warning as a timeout, period. And my point is, and this is part of what I love when we have rule changes and you have creative approaches. Like, I'm going to research, can you just kick a dribbler and give the 40? Or could they take it at the I have a feeling they can take it at the point where the ball first strikes, but we'll find out. We'll find out, and we'll report something on it. Okay. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.